sahneye gelecek sizin alkışlarınızla. Menu Design, Fashion and Music in Food konusuyla sahnede bizlerle beraber olacak. Santiago. Çok enerjik, çok neşeli. Stage is yours.
Thank you. Hey, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. So we are talking today. Just gonna put my presentation. All right. So I think the question is, what do we think about when we design a menu? Because you need to make quite a lot of decisions. Before we open, well, when we opened KOL in 4 years ago, the dishes that we choose, we chose them because they were just the less bad ones, basically. We did a research of maybe like 150 dishes. It was inspired. All the food was inspired in Mexico using local ingredients from the UK. But to be honest, even though I did a research of 2.5 years, I didn't really scratch the surface. So the design of the menu was maybe more about the size. So you will have first course. It will be maybe like a smaller dish, and then a bigger dish, and then you will have a main course to share. And that was kind of like the interpretation. Well, like the reason why we have the menu at the beginning. But now, after 4 years, we are in an exciting era of KOL and the restaurant. And we finally are able to feel natural when we create the dishes. Obviously, it's not the same to be one person trying to create things than a whole team growing together and learning together. And every time that the year passes, we get new ingredients, we get a new season, and the question is always, well, there's always a piece of paper and a pen that I always lose this pen, but I really like to have like a really good pen, and then I sit down with our R&D chef, and our chefs are like, okay, well, it's going to be spring at some point, so we need to make a spring menu, and then you have to know where to start, right? So our inspiration is really like closely related with the design process. This is a design process, like very, very general design process that engineers have, fashion designers, architects, interior designers. They follow this process from inspiration to production because the idea comes. And then, when you have the idea, then you have to design the idea. Think about like what are the parameters, what are the like kind of like the stepping stones of this idea, and then you try it out. So you prototype, and then after that, you hand over to Ray, that is somewhere there, and head chef. He will put it in production and make sure that that thing that it was just pure inspiration will become consistent enough and good enough with the supply chain and the chefs to have the recipes and everyone to kind of like push to the same direction, right? So I could talk about quite a lot of different parameters that we have in KOL to create the tasting menu. At the moment we have a 12, 13, or 14 course menu in KOL, and everyone has the same tasting menu. We're going to focus on how it looks and how it feels today. So how it looks, we are inspired quite a lot in fashion, and how it feels in terms of the progression of the tasting menu, we get inspired to measure that with music and like let's say like a playlist, basically. So we're going to start with food and fashion. I have a guest once that he's a friend of mine, a film director, and he was in KOL, and he was like, man, that was amazing. So when are you going to change the menu again? And I was like, well, we're going to change it in spring. And he's like, oh, and then when do you change it again? It's like, oh, we change it then in summer. Like we do early summer and then we do a late summer menu. All right, and then you change for autumn and then winter. It's like, yeah. It's like, oh, wow. So so what you do is like fashion. And I was like, yeah. Like it's, I thought about it for a while, and then it's actually quite interesting, and the way that they overlap. And we can think about what you wear. Like, what do you wear in winter? You wear layers, you know? So you put different layers of clothes. You want to feel cozy. Maybe you put your like sweater on top, and then you sit down, and you're like, you know, you want to be like close to the fire. And you wear maybe a little bit more of like darker colors, like maybe like black and shades of like winter vibes, right? When you're in the summertime, you want to feel more fresh. You want to feel more fresh, more colorful, and lighter layers, and but still like quite sexy. And when you're in spring, it's a bit more melancholic. So then it depends on where are you in the season, what do you wear, and therefore, but it's directly related with your needs, you know, in the moment. And it's the same with food. Like in the winter, you want to have more of a nourishing food, and therefore, we create dishes that have more layers. Where in the summertime, you make a lighter menu with lots of vegetables, lots of colors. And then, actually, in the spring, it's a quite of melancholic tones of colors with the radishes and like sprouts and very like leaves, tender leaves. And so it's a very interesting way to put both together. So we work being focused, well, we focus our work and our inspiration in different fashion designers to kind of match the inspiration of the dishes and the presentation. So for example, I'm just gonna give you a few examples. For example, this one, it's Rick Owens, that is a fashion designer from the States, from LA. And he used a lot of texture and brightness and geometry, you know? So then you probably have something that is monochromatic, but the brightness of the material will give shine. And the texture, it will give a little bit of shape and volume to the pieces. So in this dish, it's a tamal, so it's a custard that we made with pork and masa, and then on top for us to like that is kind of like the texture. So it's like a textural dish, and we also put caviar on top of this dish. And then for the brightness, we use a glaze. So we make this pig trotter glaze. So if you want to make something shine, you need gelatin, or you need like something like a caramel. Like you need something that puts the like kind of bounce the light. So then when the dish comes to the table, it looks like it's shiny, you know? And then for geometry, what we do is we cut the radishes, different types of radishes with like a cutter of a teardrop cutter, and we put them all together. So then this idea came from a dream. That's another story. But at the same time, we have inspiration and correlation with this brand. Then for this other dish, we have a brand called Issey Miyake from Japan, and the designer, he passed away, but the designer basically they focus on layers, patterns, and alignment. So everything organized, you know, and it's like layers of things that are organized and that it looks like almost like an instrument, you know, that you stretch and open and close. And that is what I wanted to do with the squid. So this is a piece of squid, and we cut it with a Japanese technique, really, really thin. That I think Thomas is somewhere here in the audience. But he teach me to do that. Thank you, Thomas. And you cut it really, really thinly, and then you flip it, and then you cut it again really thinly. So it becomes, you get these layers. So then I wanted to then put the garnish in layers as well, and work with the pattern to create these like hints of chili and herb that will align all the dish together. So this will be another like kind of another way that we could represent the presentation. And then this one is Valentino, and they work a lot with movement. So I don't know if you ever like been in the restaurant, the chef is like, okay, it needs to be moving. Like it needs to, like sometimes when you create dishes, you want you imagine maybe if it's two elements, maybe you have like a piece of like a cut cabbage and then another one in the other side, or a cucumber, another cucumber, or like whatever you put on the plate to have movement. So color, movement, and weight is something that they are inspired. And then what we do is to make this scallop dish with flowers that are going around. There are pickled rose flowers. And then we add sea blight to do it, to give a little bit more movement and the volume as well. This one, it's Hermes, that they work with shape, decoration, and contrast. So it's an interesting way to have a canvas and add contrast. So the contrast can be textural, like you can add an oil, or you can add really, really small ants. For example, in this dish has ants, so the ants will give that contrast, and also this like detail on the herbs that we have these very, very small tips of wakatai that you will get like really like into detail. If you zoom in, you will have all these details happening on this dish. So then, I think one of the interesting things about, in general, when you have a restaurant or you build a brand, you know, is that you have to develop your own style. And your own, like the style of what you do is there, is in you, but it's inside of this block, you know? So then what you have to do is like a sculpture, you know? So you take whatever you don't need, slowly focusing on what you don't like, to get closer into actually what feels natural to you. And it's interesting because there are different designers in this picture, and this is an autumn collection of last year autumn collection. And then the interesting thing is that it will tell you a time and place. They are different designers, but they are all in 2023, you know? So it's an interesting way to think about the tasting menu and how the menus over the years with your own style can change, but they always kind of come together by seasonality as well. So this one is our late summer menu that we have in KOL as well. So you can have, you know, like we try to work quite minimalistic with shapes, colors, movement, patterns, alignment, and focusing a lot on textures. But the textures that are natural of the ingredient. So maybe the patterns of the beef, or maybe the little dots of the pear when you slice it, instead of adding like artificial textures into the dish. All right, so then now we're gonna move into food and music. So food and music is, we're talking about the actual, when do you put the first course, or this whatever snack, and when do you put the next course on the tasting menu? So you're working on like 14 courses, so it's an interesting kind of exercise to make. And we are still learning, but it's there is a way that people do this in music, like the artist will put together a playlist, put together like an album, and you will have first song, second song, and it's interesting because not all the songs are hits. They don't have to be. Like some hits are people pleasers. You know, some artists hate their hits, and it's an interesting thing because the people want just to listen to the hits, and then sometimes, and I think I share that with other chefs that they probably don't want to play those hits anymore but it's what people like, you know? So at the end of the day, it's interesting. But this one is a circle of fifths, so it's a circle of different, like what the musicians use to make chords. So it's in a piece of music, you could have different chords with different notes, with different instruments play at the same time, and they can work. You know, so then the question is, how do they work, and where do they move in the scale? And in just general terms that I understand, is mainly, is the song happy? Is the song a happy song? Is the song a sad song, or a melancholic song, or an action film song? What is it? And then that could give you a hint of where the song and the melody moves, you know? And it's important to understand this, to understand your narrative, your personality, and also to be able for you to deliver like the correct message in your experience. Because at the end of the day, an album shouldn't be judged by one song or by specific songs. It will be more, it's better to, like, it should be judged by the whole album, or the whole experience of listening to the album. Like, when you go to a fine dining restaurant with a tasting menu, you are judging, or you are enjoying, better not to judge, the experience of the whole menu, you know? Not necessarily dish by dish. It's more the story, the narrative, the experience, and then how everything comes together for you not to get bored, and for you not to get overwhelmed, for your palate not to be overwhelmed. So it's a mixture of temperatures and textures, flavors, that it's a lot going on, you know, like from striking, you know, like a dish can be really striking, or a dish can have a lot of acidity, you know, like sometimes, oh yeah, my favorite, the one that is like super sour, lots of lemon, it's like, yeah, sure. So then it can have a lot of acidity, or it can be really striking, or it can be really rich. It's like, yeah, the one with the wagyu and the caviar and the butter and you know, like, and the bone marrow, you know. So then it can also have textures, like, yeah, the one that was fried, or spicy, or umami, like umami bombs and stuff like that. So then the idea is, what we did is to rate every course from 1 to 4, and we got an overall kind of rating of each course and where it sits in the scale. So maybe the ceviche is more sour and more spicy, and a little bit like the presentation is quite striking. But then maybe you have another dish like the mole that it goes more into the richness and the umami, and it's like sits kind of like in the middle. So then, like that, we can see, we could think on a way to put things together in a specific order for people to, you know, like, I give you a little bit, and then I don't, and then spicy, and then it's fresh, you know, and then it's like umami, you know. So it's like an experience of like this playlist or this movie, that it has to have some sort of narrative for you to not get overwhelmed or not get bored, you know. And then this is how it looks. This is our autumn menu, and the interesting thing is that if you put them all together, you want to cover as much of the area as possible for you to be able to create something quite balanced on the experience. So you can see that is quite balanced, our menu. And well, probably not perfect though. and then that's it. So I just wanted to say that, I mean, it's important to think about these things, and it's called legacy and menu. So I just wanted to, you know, like touch on legacy, in the fact that if you follow your own style, it doesn't matter what is, and you're true to yourself, it doesn't matter what's on fashion, or what is new, or what is like what everyone is doing, what you do will be timeless, and it will be able to inspire other people and make more delicious food in the world. So, thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Santiago, I loved your playlist approach. I loved it very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Hey, it was a great talk.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say thank you as well for everyone and Gogmen to invite me to these places. It's an honor to be here.
Always.
Thanks so much. And you as well. To present
Always.
everything. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.